my biggest piece of advice I can give to a listener is be careful who you jump into business with. I've made that mistake, and make sure you really know the person and before jumping into business partnerships and just who you know in general, because at the same time, outside of partnerships and business, I like the optimism, bro. I always say be a delusional optimist, because if you look at Albert Einstein, if you look at Alexander Graham Bell, the guy who invented electricity, dude, he was a delusional optimist. You got to be a little bit crazy to be uberly successful.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Walk to Wealth podcast. If you're tuning in on YouTube or any of the podcast directories, make sure to do yourself one teeny tiny little favor and make sure to give us a follow, because I don't want you to miss out on any of the amazing guests I got coming on this year. Without further ado, let's get right into this one. Tommy Ooze, man, for anyone who hasn't had the pleasure to get to meet you yet, to get to see you live and in action, man, tell us your elevator pitch. Who are you and what do you do, man?
Appreciate you having me on, brother. Super excited to be here. I am a professional public speaker, a entrepreneur mindset coach, as well as, a marketing and sales expert, I like to say, as well as just someone who loves helping people and leading and inspiring, man. So just an overall serial entrepreneur making things happen.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to have our conversation today, because it's not too often where I get people close to my age hop on the show to drop gems, man. You got it popping off pretty early, and I got to hear a little bit of your backstory. But for anyone who wasn't at A to B Con 2, man, take us back in a time machine, man. What was little Tommy like growing up, man? Where did this journey all kind of start off?
Little Tommy, man. Wow, that's a great question. I think back in the day, I was always that guy that was just always persistent, always going after, what he wanted. And it's always the life of the party, good energy, outgoing, curious, eager to learn, just really that guy that always asked questions growing up, and always wanting to grow and get better and learn from people. And I think that's really where my journey in entrepreneurship started, is, not knowing anything about it, but really wanting to learn more and seeking, mentorship, seeking the right individuals to teach me that, because, I just went the normal route growing up. But I would say personality wise, man, just someone who was always outgoing, loud, a little bit in your face, but in a good way. I'm a funny guy. I love to make people laugh. Just, a pretty genuine, authentic guy, man. Just trying to make things happen and help a lot of people along the way.
100%, man. It comes through very, very clearly, man. Let me ask you, if I'm not mistaken, you were born and raised in Canada, right?
Yes, sir. We're out here just outside of Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
So what was it like growing up in Canada? Most of the guys, I've been able to interview a couple people in different parts of the world, but what was it like, growing up in Canada? Was it too much different than what people, would think, or is it kind of similar to kind of life in the States?
Yeah, we live in igloos. We sleep on ice. I'm kidding. No, man, it's very similar to the States, I would say. Just went to elementary school, played sports growing up. I was an athlete my whole life. From hockey to soccer. I guess Canadians like to play a little bit more hockey than any other sport. But very similar to the States, to my knowledge, man. I think just similar school system, similar paths that they put you on, and I don't think it's too different. I would say Canadian and Americans are pretty similar. I guess we're always the nicest people in the world, they say. We say sorry too much. I definitely do, and we don't have to. Please and thank you. We're very polite. I was just in Croatia, and they're like the polar opposite. So definitely different cultures, but yeah, I'd say we're pretty similar to Americans.
That's dope, man. And remind me again, because I know in A to B Con you talked about your story and how you got a little bit into personal development a lot earlier on than most people ever do. So tell us about what was your your teenage years like? How did you get into all this stuff that you're talking about now, and your mentor? I'm not gonna drop his name now, but I'll let you tell the story, man. How do you get into the world that you got going on now, man? Where did it all start off?
Yeah, bro. It's such a good question. I think I have to give it back to my parents. When I was young, they always instilled the believe in yourself, never give up, mentality. So very grateful for them, hardworking, and obviously you are who you were raised by at the end of the day. I've studied obviously and been mentored by people like Bob Proctor, Alex Morton, and I really learned from those guys that how you are is based upon, your parents, right? Your paradigm and how you're basically molded and conditioned growing up. And I studied people like Tony Robbins, but basically how it started was my parents, and then from there they took me to events. I remember going to Tony Robbins when I was 16 years old, walking on fire, didn't burn my feet, and then that's when I really fell in love with mindset. I'm actually going to Tony Robbins here in like 2 months.
Wow.
Again, UPW. I'm going to again in Dallas. It's crazy. I'm going at 24. We'll be 25 right after my birthday, and I went when I was 16. So the transition of over the years has just been it's been amazing, man. And I've really just studied mindset. I fell in love with it after walking on fire and not burning my feet, and really wanting to understand how that is even possible. But from there, I got into the network marketing space and the trading space, and I started learning about how to make money from your phone. When trading was blowing up, and that's kind of how I got into that space. And then from there I found like sales and marketing and leadership, and really I fell in love with the mindset side of things, and really understanding why we are the way we are and how to change it through the spiritual side of success. And that's when I met my mentor. Back in 2019, I went to a personal development conference, an event in Dallas, Texas, and I saw Bob Proctor speak and Alex Morton and some of my other mentors, and then I just started following them. And I believe success leaves clues, and if you follow people that have what you want, you do what they do, eventually you'll get what they get. So for me, over the years, I've just listened to people that have the results, not just monetary, but in all areas. But I mean, when you want to listen to people that have what you want, like I always say, don't listen to someone unless you trade places with them. So that's kind of how my journey, I guess, started. And I just
Yeah.
joined a company, man, where they really instill personal development into you. Like I remember listening to Jim Rohn, and then I remember just literally watching Bob Proctor every day, like just transforming my mind. And I believe that in order to do that, it's through spaced repetition. And that is truly the key to all mastery. But that's kind of how my journey started.
Man, that's insane. So let's dive back to that earlier person who said it. 16, you're walking on fire, man. Most people at 16 are just, at least for me, because that was still not too long ago, man. I was literally, if not mistaken, when I was 16, Fortnite just dropped. I was what football season started off. It was my junior year of high school, man. I didn't have a job. I never really worked in high school. I think I was caddying at the time on weekends every now and then. But caddying season was ending, school just started up, playing football, and then once football season ended, pretty much it was school and Fortnite pretty much all winter that year, man. So it's like, what was it like at
I definitely
16
played.
going to this thing, man? What was it like? Where did you find? I mean, you mentioned you were super persistent and curious. Were you ever like an oddball out? But you also said you were the life of the party. Like, I know for me, I know definitely. Although I was also the life of the party, like I definitely felt almost isolated from a lot of people, right? In terms of like
Yeah.
deep, like depth and connection. But a lot of people also knew me at a very surface level because I was always, super energetic, super outgoing, super positive. Was that like
Yeah.
experience similar for you?
Yeah, very similar, to be honest. Like I definitely am the type of person where like you either love me or you hate me, and if you hate me, it's because you don't know me. Like that surface level, they'll like see you for who you are from like their perception, but like when you
Yeah,
get close to me, that's when I open up to people, and let them in, I guess, my circle. And I have a very tight circle. And I just, I just got to a point in my life where I don't really care what people think anymore. A great book on that is A
yeah,
Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and it's like, man, like everyone has an opinion. And I posted about this on my Instagram the other day. I was like, yo, another person's opinion is the most expensive commodity you can have. And it's like, people that talk about other people, it says more about them than it does about you. So I guess
yeah,
for me, like I've always just been like that energy, that outgoing person. And some people hate that because they envy that. And you're right, they're not that. And that's not to say I'm better, because I'm not whatsoever. We're all equal. We're all God's highest form of creation. But when you're loud and you're in people's faces, people don't like that, not
yeah,
necessarily. But then there's people that love you, right? And they're like, yo, like they love you so much. And you have your people, right? You have your tribe, and at the end of the day, no matter if you're quiet or loud or outgoing or not, not everyone's gonna like you. And that's just life, man. But definitely have dealt with that. I still deal with it today, man. Like,
yeah.
there's people that don't love me, and there's people that absolutely adore me, right? And I'm good with either, man. Like, I know who I am, and that's what matters at the end of the day. And we're always growing, we're always getting better. And I think that's just the mentality.
100%, man. So, like, to transition a little bit, man. So, you got into the whole Tony Robbins, started listening to Jim Rohn and stuff like that. Jim Rohn, he's one of the guys that I definitely love listening to. He's like super quirky in terms of like how he speaks, and I don't know, he got like he's like he has that old humor because like
Yeah,
he's not really funny, but like the way he just talks is funny, so it's funny. I don't know how to really describe it,
yeah,
but
he's
if
great,
you,
man. Just his voice and the way
yeah,
he just,
if you,
I always acted out with my friends and like
yeah,
funny.
yeah,
Yeah, he's great. He actually
yeah.
mentioned Tony Robbins too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, yeah. He was one of the guys that I first started watching, and he man, that guy knew his stuff. Like one thing for certain, like he was them YouTube videos I used to watch of Tony of Jim Rome. Yeah, he drops gems whenever he speaks. Man, he got like the best one liners. Man, he always got one liners for everything that just sit with me. And so you say you transition a little bit into like network marketing. I also had my little dabble with the I wouldn't say network marketing part, but like the trading part. I think when I was in college my freshman year, since what 2019 into 2020, like everyone started hearing about like forex trading and
Yeah,
everything, man. And like my roommate, he even got into it, man. I was like, damn. And then the
yeah,
girl who used to braid my hair back in college, she got into it for a little bit, man. I'm just like, damn, like everyone's getting into this forex thing. It's like,
yeah,
I was like, man. If all these people are flocking to it, it gotta be a scam,
yeah,
man. My red flags had been up, but like let me tell you what ended up happening. I think like about 2 years later, I ended up doing forex for like a month, and I was like, man, I don't understand trading. There's too much going
yeah,
on, man. And I dropped it. I was like, man, one thing for certain though, them guys did talk a lot about mindset, man. They did talk a whole lot about
yeah.
personal development. But I just like the trading side of things. I've never been interested that much into trading, so that's probably why I didn't have like a natural inclination towards like, man, stocks, or whatever. So it was hard for me to like catch it and run wild with it. But like the people I met in there were really down to earth people. So what was like that experience, getting into trading? How did you get into it? Like what brought you into that world?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, man. I mean, I thought the same thing at first, so I totally feel you. I literally felt the same way. But what I found was that I think I was just looking for freedom and a way out. Like I went to school, I didn't get good grades. I graduated from high school. And what do they tell you to do? Go get a job, right? And then go to college or university. And that's what I did. I did that path, right? And
Yeah.
I like to call it the 40-40-40 plan, which is working 40 hours a week to retire with 40% of your income after 40 years of your life. And then most people start their life at 60. It's like, I didn't want to do that. Right. And
Yeah.
I think now we're transitioning. It's a digital age, which is nice. There's more entrepreneurs, there's more self employed individuals. But I guess back in 2019, when I first joined about 4 years ago, I was looking for a way out. I was looking for an opportunity and I was looking for a way to get my time back and to do what I want when I want with whoever I want because time and money wasn't an issue. And I started Googling online, like literally, I was like, how do you become a millionaire? How do you make money online? Like I did it. And most people have, and if they say they haven't, they're probably lying. But I did all that. And then trading kept popping up. And it was actually stocks at first. And then I went to the bank, like one of the Canadian banks here, and I was like, hey man, I want to learn how to trade. Like I know you guys do that. Like, can you guys teach me? Like just like some young 19-year-old kid. And they're like, yeah, like sure. Like download this app. There's zero education, zero pathway. So I was like, screw this, kind of gave up on that pretty quick. And then I met this guy who was actually from Tony Robbins through my brother. And I got on a Zoom call and I just, plugged into this academy and started learning it. But like, it wasn't even like trading that was interesting. What's interesting is freedom, right?
Yeah.
Everyone in life is after freedom and happiness. And I saw trading as a vehicle, a way to get me out of, working a 9 to 5. At the time I was working a 9 to 5, I went to school for business marketing, right? And I was working for this guy. And I was like, bro, I don't want to be like him. Like, I don't want to have to clock in when I'm 48 years old, pack a lunch, sit in the back room
Yeah.
every day. And I'm not down on jobs. If you love what you do, keep doing it. I'm just up on the right opportunity. And for me, that was, what I was currently doing at the time and just honestly trying to find that way out. So that's kind of why I got into it. And I still trade today, man. Forex works. It's one of those things where you get what you put into it. It's like the gym. I don't think it's easy. I don't think anything's easy. I don't think entrepreneurship is easy, but if you stay consistent with something long enough, you'll get the results. Bruce Lee said this. He says, I don't fear the man that's practiced 10,000 different kicks. I fear the man that's practiced the same kick 10,000 times. So what I tell people is if you're going to do trading or sales or marketing or network marketing or, solar or pest control or freaking, AI or whatever, man, coaching, like follow one course until successful. Just become really good at one thing and then diversify. And that's kind of what I did is I started with trading and I went to leadership, network marketing, built teams, hundreds and hundreds of people, brought in thousands over my career. And it's like leadership and helping people is what I really fell in love with and the freedom and time to do so. Like I haven't had to clock in to an actual job in the last 4 years. Why? Because I went down a path and I just put my head down and worked and sacrificed, and I still do that to this day. Right, my parents, still working, got to retire them. So it's like you just got to
Yeah.
do the little things over and over again consistently and build that compound effect.
Yeah, 100%, man. One of those things where you mentioned that Bruce Lee quote. Another one I love is if you stick with it long enough, eventually determination starts to look like talent. And everyone, when you're working, it's like, oh, hey John, you're so good at it, but they don't see the hours, but behind closed door, behind the scenes that you were putting in. Like, I just told you before we hit record, like I was working on a chatbot, almost pretty much. I was working on it till like midnight last night. Then woke up this morning after I played basketball, went home, showered, whatever, and then got right back on the wagon and just spent all morning today from like 9 to noon, just pretty much just like trying to figure out how to embed this one chatbot thing on my website, but only on one page and not every page because I only want it for one specific page, man. That was the hard part. But it's like little things like that, and it just goes behind the scene, goes unnoticed. And when it all ends up kind of falling in line, then it's like, oh my goodness, you must have had it so easy. And it's like, nah, man, there's been a lot cooking up. And for me, one of the things that for Forex clearly didn't work out was because I didn't stick with it long enough. I gave a month and I was out the door. But like
Bro,
with the podcasting thing, I was just like, man, I gotta. You about to say something?
yeah, I was gonna say, bro, like I didn't understand
Yeah.
Jack for 3 months. I remember it was like Chinese. Right? So
Yo, that is
that's
a
just
foreign language.
like even me, like I'll probably start a podcast of my own in the future, but it's like if you want to get off the ground, you got to keep doing episode after episode. I think the average podcast doesn't go longer than like 10 episodes or something like that. Like there's
Yeah.
like a statistic that says like most people don't even get over 10 episodes, and that's why they fail in podcasting or something like
Yeah.
that.
There's like it's 90% don't make it over 10, and then of the 10 that make it past 10, 90% don't make it past 25.
Yeah, that's
And then another guy I really like listening to is Alex Ramosi. You talked about like his podcast didn't even hit the charts until almost four full years in. So it's just like, man, the law of attrition is like one of the best laws ever. Because if you just stick with something, like you're, especially this early on in life, like we're literally set so well for success because most people don't get into entrepreneurship until they spent a bunch of miserable years at a career they didn't like, right? And then they decide to break free. It's like starting at this a young age of to get into entrepreneurship. Literally, if we just f off for the next 20 years, which I don't recommend at all, we're still like ahead of the game. Like there's the way you draw it up, and when people talk about success, it's like, man, it's so hard. It's like, bro, literally just stick with it.
yeah.
That's it,
Gary
man.
says, "Man, you're so young." He goes, "Like, how old are you? 34? You're so young." And that's he just said it doesn't matter how old you are, man. Just like you can recreate yourself tomorrow, right?
No, 100%, man. I think Gary Vee, he'll tell anyone that's not older than him that you're so young. You could be a day younger. I think he'll tell you you're still young, man. That guy thinks everyone is young.
And he was packaging wine till 33 years old, and then he got into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, the
Right
wine
there,
library.
volumes, right?
Yeah, 100%, man. So you got into the trading, started off, and then from there you said you got into network marketing. So like one of the questions I always have, man, is like, what actually is like network marketing? Like I think a lot of people think network marketing is like pyramid schemes. Like what is like the actual like business model or structure of like how does that even all work out?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. Yeah, that's what the average person thinks. I mean, I thought that at first too, but it's
Yeah,
just lack of education, right? And I think
yeah,
that's like basically the gap is you don't know what you don't know. Network marketing has actually created more millionaires, more six-figure earners. Like if you Google like the number one industry in the world that's made the most millionaires, it's network marketing.
mm-hmm.
And it's like, Ed Milet talks about it. Donald Trump says it. Robert Kiyosaki says it. Like, Ed Milet, you know who Ed is, obviously. Like,
Yeah,
he made his money in network marketing. Like, no one
really,
knows that. He makes over $1 million a month in network marketing. People don't
damn,
even know that. He doesn't advertise it, but like, that's where he started, right? Tony Robbins started in network marketing. Jim Rohn, network marketing. Alex Morton, network marketing, right? All these guys started in network marketing. And it's like, what is the industry? It's just a type of affiliate referral based marketing, right?
okay,
It's one of those things where if you help enough people get what you want out of life, you'll get what help what they want out of life, you'll get what you want out of life by
Zig
default.
Ziglar,
Zig Ziglar, yeah, network marketing, right? Ziglar, he was in network marketing, so it's like all these people started there, and it's what's so amazing about it is the personal development aspect. It's just marketing. Like I'm a marketing student, like I'm a business student, I'm educated in this space, And what I understood is like, if you basically just help other people, it's the only industry in the world where you get to learn from multimillionaires for like a couple $100, and they literally teach you how to do what they did. Like no freaking brainer right there. Like
Yeah.
it changed my entire life. Like I will put my kid in network marketing, even if it's not forever, for like 3 years, because the personal development aspect, man. Like
Yeah.
it's literally shaped Tommy Ooze today in the best way possible. Like I could completely quit network marketing tomorrow, go build other businesses, and become a multi millionaire because of the skill sets, the things they teach you. Like I was doing my speakers school with Brandon, and I was teaching them about edification and all these other people, other things like how to close a room when you're speaking. Like, you can't learn that anywhere, right? Where did I
Yeah.
learn it? Network marketing. So overall, what is the model? It's just affiliate-based referral marketing, kind of like Uber, Airbnb. Hey, man,
Yeah.
get a referral link. Yo, dude, join here. And then you either get a direct compensation or a residual-based compensation, just like signing somebody up for a referral-based like influencer link, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
that's basically what it is, man. And obviously, there is some bad companies out there that gave it a bad rep. Like if you go really study the depths of it, like the Mary Kays, the Amways, the biggest companies, back in the day when our parents were around, they would just get sold a bunch of product, and then their garage would be filled with like a bunch of freaking energy drinks or whatever. And that's why it has that bad rep of being called a scam or pyramid or this and that. People are always thinking, oh, the guy at the top makes all the money, but it's really not. Like you could join today and make more money than me if you just worked a little bit harder, right? So
Yeah.
that's the coolest part about it. And I think it's just lack of education. Like I'm in a company where the customers make more money than the affiliates do through
Yeah.
trading, through cryptocurrency, through e-coms, through stuff like that, which is really, really cool. So I just love the personal development aspect of things because it really just teaches you how to go build other businesses. And that's what I've done now. I went from starting in network marketing to, going out there, buying a club, right? From there to, getting into public speaking, learn how to public speak in network marketing. Okay. Learn sales in network marketing and learn leadership, mindset coaching. And I pivoted to mindset coaching. Now I'm an author writing a book, right? Authored the upcoming book, Mastering Your Mind, 21 Proven Strategies to Take Your Life from 0 to 100. What else? Teaching public speaking, man, like it like trading. Like I didn't know any of this stuff if it wasn't for this industry. So I think it's just people's lack of education. And I live by this one quote, man. And like I'm always super open minded. Is you don't know what you don't know, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
like people don't really know. And you got, and I will say this though, like make sure you join with the right people because you could
Yeah.
join with the wrong person. It could completely f up your experience and why you have a bad like rep with it. I've even experienced that. So that's
Yeah.
why I always say become the leader and person you want to attract into your business. So
Yeah.
that's how I'm always leading by example within my organization and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Now you mentioned a ton of fire right there, man. One of the things you said, the you don't know what you don't know, and a lot of people get into, I feel like, entrepreneurship, especially young, and feel like you have to create content. So what's the first thing they do? They start talking about stuff they have no business talking about and no experience on. And it's one of those things where, as you said, a lot of people aren't as credible. So you have to have a little bit of like a discernment, man, when it comes to knowing who you're gonna jump into business with, man, and being able to have that, that foresight for like, all right, is this person, who they say they are? And it's so easy because it's a trendy industry. Like I don't know much about it. I just know a lot of people are in it, and a lot of
Yeah,
people talk about it, man.
I think overall, like in any business, there's a difference between inspiration and then manipulation, and you can
Yeah.
use discernment. And that's one thing I've actually been really leaning into recently. It's funny how you brought that up, where like you need to be able to realize like who actually wants to see you win and who
Yeah.
just wants to manipulate you for their own benefit. And I think that's really, really important because there's both types of people out there. I was listening to Kevin Trudeau. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's
Yeah.
like Bob Proctor vibes, billionaire. And he says there's people out there that want to create and there's people out there that want to destroy. You just got to be careful of who's in that proximity to you.
100%, and all that stuff. They look identical when you put them up side by side. The only real thing that's different is intention, but that's
Yeah.
something you can't physically see. Like you can't physically see someone's intent behind something. That's where that discernment comes in. You have to be very wary and diligent as to who you hop into. And it's one of those things where it's like, man, I thank God for having the, I guess I say I give myself the gift of, I didn't give myself, but he gave me the gift of wisdom. And a lot of it just came from just being open-minded and just being aware that there's different lives, perspectives out there, and not being naive to the world. And I'm very optimistic, so sometimes like I do
Same.
shoot myself in my own foot, like because when you're optimistic, man, you just think everything's gonna work out, man. It's like
Facts.
having some
Facts.
discernment as well, as you said, like to make sure that you don't get yourself screwed over, man. And another thing you
Yeah.
kind of mentioned too in there, that you learn a lot of things from network marketing. I feel like for me, I mean, I learned a lot of things from YouTube University, man. I
Yeah.
learned a
Me
lot of
too, though.
things. Yeah, bro, it's
I,
like the best thing like ever invented, bro. Like YouTube
me
CEO, I'm not sure what your name is, bro, but he's the
Bro,
goat.
I watch YouTube videos all the time. Like you can go watch Bob Proctor, you can go watch Earl Nightingale, Jim Rohn. Like
Yeah,
I literally listened this morning. I was listening to a podcast, like YouTube,
yeah,
like it's like the best. I mean, people watch. I think it depends what you watch. Like if you're just watching like nonsense, then you're wasting time. But if you're watching like personal
yeah,
growth things, like stuff on money, stuff on mindset, stuff like that, like AI, I think that's very effective with your time.
yeah.
But yeah, no, YouTube's great. I was gonna say the one thing I wanted to say is my biggest piece of advice I could give to a listener is be careful who do you jump into business with. I've made that
Mm,
mistake, and make sure you really know the person and before jumping into business partnerships and just who you know in general, because you want to make sure you really know the person before doing that and not being naive. But at the same time, you know, outside of partnerships and business, I like the optimism, bro. I always say be a delusional optimist because, if you look at Albert Einstein, if you look at, all these Alexander Graham Bell, the guy who invented electricity, like, dude, he was a delusional optimist. Like, you got to be a little bit crazy to be like uberly successful. Like, if in
yeah,
order to change the world, you got to be a little bit, like something's not normal,
yeah.
but it's like a good
100%.
not normal.
Yeah, I think Tupac said, those who are I wasn't Tupac. It was someone that said those who are crazy enough to think that they'll change the world usually are the ones that do, or something like that. Tupac said something about changing the world though, but it's like you, man, just to even have that thought, you have to come to terms with the fact that most people, not that they're pessimists, but it's just like they can't fathom thoughts that big, and it's like their reality is so confined to like what the opportunity really is. And I think through having these conversations with people, I came to the realization that like, I think every ceiling that we have to break through was also some like secretly built by our own hands.
Yeah,
And I
self-imposed.
gen
It's
yeah,
all self. I would say the only limit you have are the ones you impose on yourself. And a great book to help you break those is talking about like belief and stuff is The Magic
yeah,
of Believing. Like I've read
mm,
that book. It really helps you. I always say to people I work with, I say believe a lot bigger, a
yeah.
lot faster.
And get into rooms with people, man, that stretch your reality. I remember, and I was in a room back when I was focused on real estate. I ended up selling like 0 houses, but that's another story for another day. But I was in a room with some people. I paid for this training. It was like $800, and like they were talking about like what net worth you want to have, and like at that point in time, like I was like, man, no, I'm not. This is last year. I was like, I want to have a $30 million net worth. Like now, like I get that. Like I'm good. Like I'm set. And then like a couple weeks after that, or maybe like a month or two after that, the team leader of the office, they came back from like this retreat. Keller Williams hosted like this they opened like a new like community within KW. It's called like KW Wealth. And like in order to go to the retreat, you have to have a plan to get to 50 million net worth. And then they come back and they hop on a call that it was like some random morning or whatever. And they were talking about like, yeah, we had this plan and now we're gonna strive for 50 million. I'm just like, damn, 50 mil is crazy. And that's just like to attend. I'm like, man, they have some real fu money going on over there. And it's like, but that just stretched my reality of what's really possible. Because when I said 30 million in that room, people looked at me like I had 5 heads, and all those people are a lot older than me. But then they came back 2 months later from this other retreat. Now I'm looking at them like they have 5 heads. And it's
Yeah,
like just constantly getting yourself around people who stretch your what you think the confines of reality really are, because there really aren't
yeah.
too many if aside from the ones that are self-imposed. I think.
I remember sitting at a dinner like a couple of years ago when I was
Mm,
like first starting. I was like pretty broke. I was like making like $600 a month in network
damn.
marketing, and I was sitting at the table. Actually, no, I might have been at like 2 grand. I don't know. Regardless, not a lot of money. And I was sitting there with my mentor and all these multimillionaires, and I was the brokest one at the table. I always say, put yourself in those rooms. You always want to be the brokest one at the table. And I remember the one guy was like, man, he's like, fuck $1 million. I'm like, what? He goes, a billion. He goes, a billion's the new million. And I go, like, bro, I haven't even made, like, at the time I hadn't made six figures yet. So I was like, dude, I couldn't even fathom, but like, I'll never forget that because it just shows me of like how big I should actually be thinking and not be thinking as small as the people around me because, you are the five people you hang out with, right? And if they
Yeah.
think that this is their ceiling, your thoughts are probably very similar to them if you're not around people that are pushing you to think bigger and strive and get better. That's why mentorship is so important because my mentors, I've made over $50 million and they're like
Yeah.
pushing me to think a lot freaking bigger, a lot faster. And I'm like, you're right. And that's really important to seek that because if you don't have that in your like local area, like where I live in a city called Kitchener-Waterloo currently, Canada. There's no multimillionaires here, and it's like I had to get around and put myself in different environments, go to Miami, go to other places and really expand the mind. And, once the mind is expanded, it can't go back. Like you can't
Yeah.
unsee like Lamborghinis and multi-millions of dollars because that's what once your mind sees it, you see what's possible. Like you can now fathom it, right? But if you just
Yeah.
sit at home and like you're around a bunch of broke, poverty, like that, and lack, like that's what you're gonna be thinking about. Like what you focus on grows, right? So I'm always trying to put myself in better environments, and ever since that day, like I'll never forget it. And now I'm like, what's the limit? The limit, like, there's no limit. Like the limit's the one I impose, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the mentality.
Now, so let me ask you a question, man, because you're still pretty young. So it's like, how do you stop and smell the roses? Because when you're at this age, man, we're just taught like your 20s, just go after it, and whatever it is, just get after it and get after it and get after it. And you've quite accomplished more than some people will in 5 lifetimes already, and you're only about to hit your quarter life check mark, right, or checkpoint or whatever. So it's like, how do you like obtain all that success and actually enjoy it, right, and sit and be able to sit in it and just be grateful.
Yeah, I mean, bro. I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I've hit the highs and then I went right back down, and it's
Yeah.
it's because I enjoyed it too much. I think like I definitely have smelt the roses. Like I've went, when I was doing really well, I was living in Hawaii for months on end. I was living in Florida and Miami, and I was just going out doing the fancy dinners, the fancy drinks, the dates, the fancy vibes, like traveling, like and I've done that. So I've definitely smelt the roses. And I think you just gotta celebrate your accomplishments, but not take the foot off the gas too much would be my best
Yeah.
advice is celebrate, but then get back to work until you
Yeah.
have like $1 million liquid, right? Which should be everyone's goal in your bank account. You just got to put your head down and work. Like you can't just be worried about what everybody else is doing. You need to put the blinders on and work. And that's really the mentality. And honestly, where I'm at still today, because I haven't hit that yet, but we're working towards it. And it's like, man, money isn't everything, but it's right up there with oxygen, and it can help a lot of problems in your life. And I think people don't realize that, like, it can help your family, it can help you, it can help future generations to come. Hence why I created my brand, Revolution to Free Generations, RFG, which is in the name. It's to help future generations to come, but you got to help yourself first. So I think it's like smell the roses along the way, but not for too
Yeah.
long. And I think I've made that mistake is smelling for too long and then having to rebuild it all again, right? So
I had this question one time in a mastermind. You brought it to my attention when you was like, "Money's right there, up there with oxygen, man." Like, so to you, right? What is money?
money is a tool. Money is a tool. It is a tool to make your life better. It is don't make your life about money. Money should just be a tool, a resource that you use to acquire things that you need in order to, become better in whatever area that is, business, personal, help the people you love, whatever it is. But don't fall in love, don't surround yourself about money, right? Because then you're never going to really be happy, because there's never going to be in a dollar amount that's going to make you happy. Like people think, okay, if I get $1 million, then I'll be happy. If I quit my job, then I'll be happy. You got to be happy now, because otherwise you're gonna be miserable when you have $1 million. Like if you can't be happy with $1,000 a month, how are you gonna be happy with $1 million a month? Well, I'll be happier because I have $1 million a month. Well, will you though? Like, you need to enjoy the process. And
Yeah,
that's one thing I had to start doing is like at the beginning, I was so focused on the end result. Now I'm just enjoying the process, man. You
yeah,
know, like life happens for you, not to you. I've gotten knocked down. I've made, the money, went back to zero, rebuilt it, and it just happens, man. There's peaks and valleys in life. And it's like whether you're in a valley right now listening to this, whether you're in you're on that peak on the mountaintop, you're at your highest high in your business, you have the girl or boyfriend of your dreams, whatever. Right? Just keep going, man. Like don't take the foot off the gas. Like you could be 20 years old, 25, 30, 35, even 55. You can still keep going. There's always another level. Like once you're like, oh, I hit this level, there's a next level. Like, and then
yeah.
there's new devils. Every new level, there's a new devil. I've seen that in my life, right? So I think you just got to keep going, keep getting better. Focus on 1% a day, 365 a year. You'll be a whole different person a year from now.
100%, man. And one of the things you mentioned too in there is like, bro, the whole thought of just like new levels, new devils, right? There was I forget who was talking about it, but in Matrix, how the woman in the red dress, right? And as you grow in life, Alex Ramosi, who was talking about the Matrix, and pretty much the woman in the red dress represents all the distractions, right? Because in the movie, pretty much he took his eye off the prize for 1 second because he looked at the woman in the red dress, and boom, he almost got smoked, right? And so it's like he's talking about like in entrepreneurship, there's always that red dress, and when you're young or when you're starting off, everything sounds like an opportunity that could be a great one, right? And then when you got, a lot of time and a lot of money, then everything definitely sounds like a great opportunity because now you have more resources to put towards it, man. So it's like once you start getting a little bit of momentum going, how do you not derail yourself? How do you like, set up, I guess, parameters in place so you don't get derailed because you start getting a little bit going and it's like, man, I'm feeling on top of the world. Like, I got this jump popping off. It's jumping now. Like, let me
Yeah,
start doing some other things and
that's a great question. I actually am super excited to answer this.
yeah.
So Bob Proctor taught me something about the paradigm, and the paradigm is your multitude of habits that affect your daily rituals, your daily, everything you do, from showering to waking up early to grinding to focusing to scrolling on Instagram. It's your paradigm. You're habitually, literally controlled by your conditioning, which is your paradigm and your habits. And it's like an airplane, and an airplane essentially put is on its same course, right? But let's say deviation hits, right? Storm hits, goes off course, goes up, right? And then it's guess what's going to happen? The airplane is always going to auto correct back to its course unless you shift the paradigm, right? So in order to get to that new level, you got to shift your paradigm. Or if you don't grow, I always say if you're not growing, you're dying, you're going to go backwards. So let's say hypothetically in your business, you made 100K a month and it's like your best month in sales, right? And you're doing high ticket sales, you're in your whatever you do, okay? 100K a month, and you've never done that before, and you're used to like $5,000 a month. Now next month you're going to go back down to 5K a month because your paradigm isn't there yet. So unless you like ingrain that in your mind, you're going to go backwards. So let's say in your life, right, you get to that new level where you hit that 100K a month, whatever. You're like, oh, okay, let's go do it again next month. Like, go make it that new regime. It takes 21 days to build a habit, 9 days to create a lifestyle. But the key is even when you get there, and let's say you do shift it, is not having shiny object syndrome, which is, a new opportunity here. Oh, I got to go do that. Or, oh, there, right? It's like you got to focus. Focus stands for follow one course until successful. Focus on one thing, become really good at that one thing, and then diversify. And when you
Yeah.
diversify in investments like real estate, right? Maybe AI, maybe crypto, trading, whatever it is, man, other businesses, right? Where you can keep focusing on what you're good at. And I think where people mess up is they'll just like completely do a new thing because like, oh, I killed that one. But it's like, yo, keep doing what you're good at. It's like
Yeah.
Connor McDavid in hockey. He's the best player in the NHL. It's like, what does he keep doing? Hockey. He's not going to play